David said to Saul, Wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeketh thy hurt. Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how God has noun and verb delivered thee today into mine hand in the cave, and some bade me kill thee, but mine eyes spared thee, and I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is, God is noun and verb's Messiah. Moreover, my father, see ye the skirt of thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not. Know thou, and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in mine hand, and I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take it. God is noun and verb, judge between me and thee, and God is noun and verb, avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee, as saith the proverb of the ancients, wickedness proceedeth from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. After whom is the king of Israel of Yisrael come? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog, after a flea. God is noun and verb, therefore be judge, and judge between me and thee, and see and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. And it came to pass, when Dawood had made an end of speaking these words unto Shaul, that Shaul said, Is this thy voice, my son Dawood? And Shaul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to Dawood, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded thee evil. And Shaul went home, but Dawood and his men got them up unto the hold. And Samuel, is it Shemuel, died, and all the Israelites were gathered together, and lamented him, and buried him in his house at Ramah. And Dawood arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. That's Western Arabia, isn't it? And there was a man in Ma'an whose possessions were in Carmel. And the man was very great, and had 3,000 sheep, and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. And the name of the man was Nabal, and the man of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And Dawood heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And Dawood sent out 10 young men, and Dawood said unto the young men, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and greet him in my name, and thus shall ye say to him that liveth in prosperity, Peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds, which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them. All the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will show thee. Wherefore, let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand unto thy servants and to thy son Dawood. And when Dawood's young men came, they spake to Nabal according to all those words in the name of Dawood, and ceased. And Nabal answered Dawood's servants and said, Who is Dawood, and who is the son of Yeshai? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So Dawood's young men turned their way, and went again, and came and told him all those sayings. And Dawood said unto his men, Gird ye on every man his sword. And they girded on every man his sword, and Dawood also girded on his sword. And there went up after Dawood about 400 young men, and about 200 abode by the stuff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, Dawood sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. And they were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master and against all his household. For he is such a son of Belial, that a man cannot speak to him. Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on donkeys. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. Now, we see this sort of, can't even speak to people. Well, you can, but some people, and they claim this is being liberal, it's really their ultra-conservative beliefs, really, that lead towards this, but they're like, they will blaspheme religious and family values. I mean, not just disagree, but heap insults against people and all that other stuff. Just, for no good reason, just to offend and whatnot people, because they're claiming that somebody somewhere was offended or oppressed, and because of your race or your country or something, you're somehow, are you favored someone from a political party or something? It's all going to be, a bunch of nonsense. That is, you can differ and, speak respectfully to individuals. And it was so, as she rode on the donkey, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, Dawood and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now Dawood had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. So and more also do God unto the enemies of Dawood, if I leave of all that pertaineth to him by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. Now, you kind of want to avoid getting stuff on you, and pissing against the wall is actually a bad idea. Or something equivalent to the wall, you want to. And when Abigail saw Dawood, she hastened and lightened off the donkey, and fell before Dawood on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, Upon me, my lord, upon me let this iniquity be, and let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my lord, I pray thee, regard this man, Belial, even Nabal. For as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my lord, whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my lord, as God as noun and verb liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing God as noun and verb hath withheld thee from coming to shed blood, and from revenging thyself with thine own hand. Now let thine enemies, and they that seek evil to my lord, be as Nabal. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my lord, let it even be given unto the young men that follow my Lord, and I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for God as a noun and verb will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of God as a noun and verb, and hath not been found in thee all thy days. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee, and to seek thy soul, but the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with God as noun and verb, thy God. And the souls of thine enemies shall sling out as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when God as a noun and verb shall have done unto my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Yisrael, that this shall be no grief to thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. When God as a noun and verb shall have dwelt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid. And one of the things that we see is this new root and this new suffix, and you can say it means dwelling or something like that, but we can also point to the simple fact that it also refers to, wait, I don't remember my point. Well, I guess that was my point, but it makes it personal, but not personal in the sense of some incarnation of God or something. But we do realize God through things. And Dawood said to Abigail, Blessed be God as noun and verb, God of Yisrael, which sent thee this day to meet me, and blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed, as God as noun and verb liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hastened and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pisseth against the wall. So Dawood received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king, and Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing less or more until the morning light. But when it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, and his wife had told him these things, that his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. And it came to pass about 10 days after, that God as a noun and verb smote Nabal, that he died. And when Dawood heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be God as a noun and verb, that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servants from evil. For God as a noun and verb hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And Dawood sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of Dawood were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spoke unto her, saying, Dawood sent us unto thee to take thee to him to wife. And she arose and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. And Abigail hastened and arose, and rode upon a donkey with 5 damsels of hers that went after her. And she went after the messengers of Dawood, and became his wife. Dawood also took Ahinoam of Yazrol, and they were also both of them his wives. Or is it Yazreel? I'm presuming it's a AL instead of a YL, but Shaul had given Michal his daughter, Dawood's wife, to Phalti, the son of Laish, which was of Galim. And the Zephim came unto Shaul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not Dawood hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Yeshimon? Then Shaul said, arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Yisrael with him, to seek Dawood in the wilderness of Ziph. And Shaul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Yeshimon by the way, but Dawood abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Shaul came after him into the wilderness. Dawood therefore sent out spies, and understood that Shaul was come in very deed. And Dawood arose and came to the place where Shaul had pitched. And Dawood beheld the place where Shaul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, the captain of his host, and Shaul lay in the trench. And the people pitched round about him, and answered Dawood, and said unto Ahimelech the Hittite, and Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother to Joab, who will go down with me to Shaul to the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with thee. So Dawood and Abishai came to the people by night, and behold, Shaul was sleeping within the trench, and his spear struck the ground at his bolster. But Abner and the people lay round about him. And Abishai to David, God hath delivered thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore let me smite him, I pray thee, with a spear, even to the earth at once, and I will not smite him the second time. And Dawood said to Abishai, Destroy him not, for who can stretch forth his hand against God as a noun and verb's Messiah, and be guiltless? Dawood said, furthermore, As God as a noun and verb liveth, God as a noun and verb shall smite him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish. God as noun and verb forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against God as noun and verb's Messiah. But I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is at his bolster, and the cruse of water, and let us go. Well, is it really God's Messiah anymore if it's not actually living that anointed consciousness? So, Dawood took the spear and the cruse of water from Shaul's bolster, and they got away, and no man saw it, nor knew it, neither awaked, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from God as a noun and verb was fallen upon them. And then Dawood went over the other side and stood on the top of the hill afar off, and a great space in between them. And Dawood cried to the people, and Abner the son of Ner, saying, Answerest thou not, Abner? Then Abner answered and said, Who art thou that criest unto the king? And Dawood said unto Abner, Art not thou a valiant man? And who is like to thee in Yisrael? Wherefore then hast thou not kept thy lord the king? For there came one of the people in to destroy the king thy lord. This thing is not good that thou hast done. As God as a noun and verb liveth, you are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master God is a noun and verbs, Messiah. Now see where the king's spear is, and the cruse of water that was at his bolster. And Shaul knew Dawood's voice, and said, Is this thy voice, my son Dawood? And Dawood said, It is my voice, my lord, O king. And he said, Wherefore doth my lord thus pursue after his servant? For what have I done? Or what evil is in mine hand? Now therefore, I pray thee, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If God is a noun and verb, have stirred thee up against me, let him accept an offering. But if they be the children of men, cursed be they before God is a noun and verb, for they have driven me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of God as a noun and verb, saying, Go serve other gods, because they thought that there were other gods. Now therefore, let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of God as a noun and verb, for the king of Yisrael is come out to seek a flea, as when one doth hunt a partridge in the mountains. Then should Shaul, I have sinned, return my son Dawood, for I will no more do thee harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have played the fool, and have erred exceedingly. And Dawood answered and said, Behold the king's spear, and let one of the young men come over and fetch it. And God is noun and verb, render to every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. For God is noun and verb, delivered thee into my hand today. But I would not stretch forth mine hand against God as noun and verb's Messiah. And behold, as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be much set in the eyes of God as a noun and verb, but let him deliver me out of all tribulations. And so we see that cursing is completely acceptable when it comes to somebody who's violating your rights to drive you out from fair use of where you have right to stay, or someone's trying to get you to stop serving God, and even, threatening your life and your health because of it. And Shaul said to Dawood, Blessed be thou, my son Dawood, thou shalt both do great things, and also shalt still prevail. And Dawood went on his way, and Shaul returned to his place. And Dawood said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Shaul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Palestinim, and shall despair of me to seek me any more in the coast of Yisrael. So shall I escape out of his hand. And Dawood arose, and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him unto Achish, the son of Maach, king of Gath. And Dawood dwelt with Achish at Gath. And he and his men, every man with his household, even Dawood with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Yezraelim, and Abigail the Carmelim, Nabal's wife. And it was told Shaul that Dawood was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. And Dawood said unto Achish, If I have now found grace in thine eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in the royal city with thee? Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. And the time that Dawood dwelt in the country of the Palestinian was a full year and 4 months. The witch of Endor. I forget how you say Endor, but we'll just say Endor. Now, Shmuel was dead, and all Yisrael had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Shaul had put away those things that had put away those that had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land. I don't know what word they're using for wizard, because wise men kind of sounds a little soft for it, but and the Palestinians gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem, and Shaul gathered all Yisrael together, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Shaul saw the host of the Palestinians, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Shaul inquired of God as a noun and verb, God as a noun and verb answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by prophets. Why just the Urim and not the Thummim? Light in perfection, but. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And his servant said unto him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor, and shall disguise himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Shaul hath done, how he cut off those who have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life, to cause me to die? And Shaul swore to her by God as a noun and verb, saying, As God as a noun and verb liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then the woman then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Shmuel. And when the woman saw Shmuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spoke to Shaul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul, for thou art Shaul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Shaul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And she said, An old man cometh up, and he is covered with a mantle. And Shaul perceived that it was Shmuel, and he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Shmuel said to Shaul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Shaul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Palestinians make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. Then said Shmuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing God as a noun and verb is departed from thee, and is become thine enemy? And God as a noun and verb hath done to him as he spoke by me. For God as a noun and verb hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to the Dawood, because thou obeyedest not the voice of God as a noun and verb, nor executest his fierce wrath upon Amalek. Therefore hath God as a noun and verb done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, God as a noun and verb will also deliver Yisrael with thee, and the hand of the Palestinians. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me, and God as a noun and verb shall deliver the host of Yishral into the hand of the Patachanim. Then Saul fell straightway all along the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Shemuel, and there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day, nor all the night. And the woman came unto Shaul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, Behold, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and I have hearkened unto thy words which thou spokest unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. But he refused and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth and sat upon the bed, and the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hastened and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and did bake unleavened bread thereof, and she brought it before Shaul and before his servants, and they did eat, and then they arose up and went away that night. And it used to be that people, well, it still is sort of the case that in most countries, including America, people expect the clergy to get behind the political leaders and perhaps give them guidance straight from God. But this sign-seeking, or, oh, I want revelation especially for me, it's like, well, it's already there for everybody, right? You just have to figure it out, or notice what it says, or, the death of Shaul. Now the Palestinians gathered together all their armies to Aphek, and the Yishraelim pitched by a fountain which is in Yazral, and the lords of the Palestinians passed on by hundreds and by thousands, but Dawood and his men passed on in the rearward with Achish. And then said the princes of the Palestinians, What do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Palestinians, Is not this David the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days, or these years, and I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me this day. And I guess I will